The city buzzed with life, but not everyone shared in its wealth. In Millennium Park, a teenage girl named Ella Adams sat alone on a worn bench. She was about 17, with dark skin, bright eyes, and tangled hair. Her clothes were old and torn, her feet bare. For 3 years, Ella had lived on the streets after her mother died. She learned to survive by her wits, reading people, running errands, sometimes begging. Welcome to AfroTales TV, your home for rich, exciting, and inspiring stories from around the world. Today's story will touch your heart and keep you hooked till the very end. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our amazing stories. That evening, her stomach rumbled, but she ignored it. She was about to stand when her sharp eyes caught something strange. A sleek black SUV parked nearby. A young man stepped out, tall, handsome, about 19, in a crisp white shirt and jeans. He looked out of place, like someone from a wealthy family. Nate Williams, son of one of Abuja's richest men, had sneaked out. Tired of his father's strict control, he wanted some peace away from bodyguards and expectations. Ella watched him walk to a quiet corner of the park. Then she noticed 2 shady-looking men following him. One of them pulled out something, a syringe. Ella's instincts screamed. Without thinking, she grabbed a broken bottle and ran. "Hey, stop!" she shouted. The men attacked Nate. Ella slashed one man's arm with the bottle. The other tried to grab her, but she bit his hand hard. "Nate, run!" she screamed. Confused but grateful, Nate staggered up. Ella grabbed his hand and pulled him through a narrow path she knew well. They ran until they reached an old abandoned building. Breathless, they ducked inside. "Are you all right?" Ella asked. Nate stared at her. You saved me. I'm Nate." "I'm Ella," she replied simply. Nate noticed her appearance, thin, barefoot. "You live on the streets?" Ella nodded. "Since my mother died." Nate was silent for a moment. "Thank you. You risked your life for me." "I don't like bad people," Ella shrugged. Nate's phone had fallen. He couldn't call anyone. "Come home with me," he said. "My parents will help you." Ella hesitated. "Rich people don't like street girls." Nate smiled. "They will listen. You saved me." The Williams mansion in Maitama was grand and intimidating. When Nate arrived with Ella, the staff gasped. Mr. Richard Williams, a tall, stern man in his 50s, stormed into the living room. "Nathaniel, what is this nonsense? Who is this girl?" he thundered. "She saved me from kidnappers," Nate replied. Mr. Williams's eyes narrowed at Ella. "You expect me to believe that? A street girl?" Mrs. Clara Williams, Nate's kind mother, entered. "What's going on?" Nate explained everything. Mrs. Clara's gaze softened as she looked at Ella. "You are very brave," she said. "Come, you need food and rest." Mr. Williams scowled. "She doesn't belong here." "She's staying," Mrs. Clara said firmly. Later, as Ella ate, Nate sat beside her. "Don't mind my dad," he whispered. "He's always strict." Ella smiled faintly. "I'm used to worse." That night, Ella was given a guest room. She opened her small bag and touched the only thing left of her mother, a small locket with her photo. "Good night, Mama," she whispered. Meanwhile, in their bedroom, Mrs. Clara spoke to her husband. "Do you remember Grace Adams?" she asked. Mr. Williams tensed. "Why bring her up?" Mrs. Clara sighed. "This girl, Ella, has her eyes. I think she's Grace's daughter." Mr. Williams's face darkened. Impossible. That matter was settled long ago. Mrs. Clara frowned, but said no more. The next morning at the grand Williams mansion, Mr. Richard Williams sat alone in his study, a hard look on his face. He hated chaos, and last night's events had brought plenty of it. A street girl saving his son and now sleeping under his roof? Unthinkable. Worse still, that girl reminded him of a past he had buried long ago. Upstairs, Ella awoke to the warmth of a real bed for the first time in years. She washed, dressed in simple clothes Mrs. Clara's maid had brought, and came downstairs hesitantly. Mrs. Clara welcomed her with a warm smile. "Good morning, my dear. Did you sleep well?" Ella nodded shyly. "Yes, Ma. Thank you. Come, eat with us." As they ate breakfast, Nate talked about the park incident. "She fought off 2 men," he said proudly. "Without her, they would have taken me." Mrs. Clara looked at Ella with admiration. "You are a very brave girl." Ella blushed. "I only did what I could." Mr. Williams barely looked up from his newspaper. "She's not family," he said coldly. "She cannot stay here long." Mrs. Clara's smile faded. "She saved your son's life, Richard." He folded his paper. "That does not change who she is." Over the next few days, Mrs. Clara spent time with Ella. She learned that Ella's mother was Grace Adams, her former housemaid, the young woman who had disappeared mysteriously years ago after getting pregnant. Ella showed her the locket, a small photo of Grace holding baby Ella. Mrs. Clara's hands shook slightly. "My dear, your mother worked here. She was a good woman." Ella's eyes misted. "She told me. A rich man forced her to leave, but she never told me who." Mrs. Clara hugged her gently. "You are safe now." But inside, questions stirred. Meanwhile, Inspector Paul brought news. One of the kidnappers was caught, he told the family. "They were hired, but we are still tracing who gave the order." Mr. Williams growled. "Find them. Spare no one." Inspector Paul nodded. Then, turning to Ella, he said kindly, "You're very brave, young lady. You may have stopped a bigger crime." Ella smiled faintly. That evening, Mrs. Clara went to check on her husband in his study. But as she approached, the door was slightly open, and she heard Richard speaking on the phone in a low voice. "I told Grace to disappear. That child might be mine. But no one can know." Mrs. Clara's heart stopped. "What?" She backed away silently, her mind racing. Later that night, after Nate and Ella had gone to bed, Mrs. Clara stormed into the study. "Richard, what did I hear?" she demanded. Mr. Williams stiffened. "What are you talking about?" "I heard you," she cried. "You told Grace to disappear. You said Ella might be your child." There was a long pause. Finally, Mr. Williams sighed heavily. "It was a mistake. Years ago. I was foolish. Grace came to me. She was pregnant. She said I was the father. I was afraid of scandal. I paid her to leave." Mrs. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "And now? Do you believe Ella is your daughter?" I'm not sure," he admitted. "It's possible." Mrs. Clara's voice hardened. "We will do a DNA test. I must know the truth." Mr. Williams nodded silently. Days passed, but the tension inside the Williams mansion grew heavier. Mrs. Clara barely spoke to her husband. Ella sensed something had changed, but didn't understand why. Nate stayed close to her. One afternoon, as they walked in the garden, he said softly, "You look worried." Ella smiled faintly. "I feel out of place." "You shouldn't. You saved me. You're brave. My mom, she really cares about you." Ella looked at him. "But your father, he looks at me like I'm a mistake." Nate frowned. "That's his problem, not yours." Meanwhile, Mrs. Clara met privately with Inspector Paul. "I want to run a DNA test," she said quietly, "between my husband and the girl." Inspector Paul raised a brow. "You suspect?" Mrs. Clara's eyes filled with unshed tears. "I overheard him. He admitted the possibility. I need to know for sure." A few days later, blood samples were quietly collected. One from Mr. Richard, one from Ella. Ella didn't know the full reason yet. "It's just a routine test," Mrs. Clara said gently. "For your safety." Ella nodded, trusting her. During the wait, Mr. Williams became even colder, but inside, guilt ate at him. Late at night, he sat alone in his study, drinking. What if the girl is really mine? What will happen to my family? My name? A week later, the results came. Mrs. Clara sat alone in her room, hands trembling as she opened the envelope. Her heart raced as her eyes scanned the paper. 99.9% probability, biological relationship, father. Tears rolled down her face. It's true. That night, she confronted her husband. It's confirmed, she said quietly. Ella is your daughter. Mr. Williams closed his eyes. I feared this. You lied to me for years, Mrs. Clara whispered. You destroyed Grace's life. You let your own child grow up in the streets. Mr. Williams's voice shook. I was afraid. I thought the scandal would ruin us. Mrs. Clara wiped her tears. You can no longer run from this. Ella is part of this family, whether you like it or not. The next morning, Mrs. Clara gathered the family. Nate and Ella sat together, confused. My children, Mrs. Clara began, voice steady. There is something you must know. She looked at Ella with kind eyes. Ella, your mother Grace worked here. Years ago, something happened. My husband is your biological father. Ella's eyes widened in shock. I don't understand. Mrs. Clara hugged her gently. We had the test. It's true. You are Richard's daughter. That makes you my daughter and Nate's sister. Nate gasped, then smiled. Ella, you're my sister? Ella's voice trembled. I had no one. Now I have a brother? A mother? Mrs. Clara held her tightly. Yes, my child. You will never be alone again. Mr. Williams entered then, his face grim. He looked at Ella. I have failed you, he said slowly. I made terrible choices. If you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I will do my best to be your father. Ella's voice was soft but strong. I don't know if I can forgive yet, but I will try. Mr. Williams nodded silently. That evening, Nate sat with Ella in the garden. I can't believe it, he said, smiling. You're really my sister. Ella wiped her eyes. I thought I'd be alone forever. Never again, Nate said firmly. We're family now. Meanwhile, across town, Inspector Paul followed a new lead. A name kept appearing in the kidnappers' phone records. Kelvin Okafor, one of Mr. Williams's business rivals. Paul frowned. He's not done yet. Peace had not yet fully returned to the Williams mansion. Though Mrs. Clara and Nate embraced Ella warmly, Mr. Richard Williams remained distant. Guilt weighed on him. Every time he looked at Ella, he saw the sins of his past. Ella herself struggled with mixed feelings. Some nights she stared at her mother's locket and whispered, Mama, can I really forgive him? Meanwhile, Inspector Paul uncovered disturbing news. He called Mrs. Clara one morning. Madam, we traced the mastermind behind Nate's kidnapping attempt. It's Kelvin Okafor. Mrs. Clara gasped. But why? Paul sighed. He blames Mr. Williams for ruining one of his biggest contracts. He wants revenge, and your family is the target. Mrs. Clara thanked him and immediately warned her husband. Mr. Williams ordered double security. But Kelvin was already plotting his next move. This time, to kidnap Ella, the newly discovered Williams heir. If I can't touch Richard, I'll ruin his new daughter, Kelvin sneered. One sunny afternoon, Nate convinced Ella to come with him to a charity event in Jobby Lake Mall. I want you to see the good side of this city, he said warmly. Ella smiled. As long as I'm with my brother. They left with 2 bodyguards. But as they walked through the parking area, a black van screeched to a stop. Masked men jumped out, guns raised. Grab the girl! The guards fought back, but one was shot. Nate tried to shield Ella. Don't touch her, he shouted. But the attackers were too many. Just as they dragged Ella toward the van, Inspector Paul's team, tipped off by an informant, arrived. "Drop your weapons!" Paul shouted. A fierce gunfight broke out. In the chaos, Nate managed to free Ella. "Run!" he cried. They ducked behind a car. Paul's men quickly overpowered the attackers. Kelvin, watching from a distance, fled, but Paul chased and arrested him. Back at the mansion, when Mr. Williams saw Nate and Ella safe, something inside him finally broke. He pulled Ella into an embrace for the first time. "I almost lost you," he whispered hoarsely. "I have been a fool. Please, forgive me." Tears streamed down Ella's cheeks. I want to forgive you, Papa." Hearing her call him that, Mr. Williams wept openly, a sight the family had never seen. Mrs. Clara smiled softly through her tears. Nate hugged them both. Kelvin Okafor was jailed for attempted kidnapping and conspiracy. The Williams family began to heal. Mr. Williams gradually softened. He spent more time with Ella, helping her adjust to her new life. He even surprised her with a gift, a scholarship to the best school in Abuja. "I want you to have every chance," he said sincerely. Ella smiled. "Thank you, Papa." Months later, at a grand family dinner, Mr. Williams stood and raised his glass. "I wish to formally welcome my daughter, Ella Williams, to this family. She is strong, brave, and has taught me what it means to truly love." Guests applauded. Nate grinned and hugged Ella. "You saved me, and now you've saved this whole family." Ella beamed. For the first time in years, she felt safe, loved, and home. The moral lesson of this story is that kindness and courage can change lives. Even when you have nothing, helping others can lead to unexpected blessings. Also, family is not just about blood or wealth, but love, acceptance, and forgiveness. No matter where you come from, you deserve to be loved and valued. Thank you for watching this beautiful story, right here on AfroTales TV. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. We love hearing from you. And share this video with your friends and family. And remember, more exciting stories are coming your way, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next story.